Back in the day, Star Wars used to be pretty simple. You had the prequels, then the original trilogy, then the sequels. Boom. Done. But then Disney decided, what if we just fill in every single gap in this timeline? And suddenly we got spin-offs, animated series, Disney Plus shows, new movies, new eras, and characters that a lot of fans had never even heard of. And that's exactly why an insane number of people are asking themselves today, where do shows like The Acolyte, Andor, Ahsoka, Skeleton Crew, or even The Mandalorian actually fit in? Don't worry, you don't need Jedi Master training for this, and you don't need a wall covered in red conspiracy string either, because once you understand one thing, the entire Star Wars timeline suddenly makes total sense. Everything in Star Wars is measured against the Battle of Yavin. That's the attack on the Death Star in Episode 4, A New Hope. Everything before it is called BBY, before the Battle of Yavin. Everything after it is called ABY, after the Battle of Yavin. That's the whole system. And once you lock that in, the timeline suddenly feels way less complicated. All right, let's start at the very beginning. The High Republic era. The earliest major time period in the current Star Wars canon is the High Republic era. And this is basically Star Wars during its golden age. The Republic is thriving, the Jedi are respected, the galaxy is relatively stable, and the Sith seem completely extinct. If you've only ever watched the movies, this era will feel almost unrecognizable. The Jedi here aren't generals, they aren't soldiers, they're explorers, diplomats, peacekeepers. And that's the crucial part, because this era shows us what the Jedi were supposed to be like before war and politics slowly destroyed the Order. Young Jedi adventures. Approximately 232 BBY. This animated series takes place about 232 years before the movies, making it currently the earliest major point on the entire timeline. And even though the show is geared toward a younger audience, it shows us something pretty important about this era. The Jedi are still traveling openly through the galaxy. They're helping planets, solving conflicts, and exploring new worlds. And the people actually look up to them as beacons of hope. There are no Clone Wars yet, no Empire, no constant fear. For the first time, the galaxy feels genuinely massive, peaceful, and alive. And that's exactly what makes the eventual downfall of the Jedi feel so much more tragic. The Acolyte. Approximately 100 BBY, about 100 years before Episode 1, the first cracks start to show, because even though the Jedi still look powerful on the outside, the very problem that will eventually destroy them is slowly brewing. Arrogance, someone is hunting Jedi, there are hints of dark side activity, and the Order starts ignoring glaring dangers. The interesting thing about the Acolyte isn't really the fighting itself, it's the fact that we, the audience, already know. The Sith never actually left. The Jedi just stopped paying attention, and honestly, that's a pretty terrifying weakness for people whose main job is literally sensing danger. The fall of the Republic. This is where the actual downfall of the galaxy begins, because this is when Palpatine kicks off what is probably the greatest political manipulation plot in sci-fi history. Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, 32 BBY. We meet a young Anakin Skywalker. Qui-Gon Jinn discovers him on Tatooine. The Jedi debate whether he could actually be the chosen one. And meanwhile, something dark is already moving in the background of the galaxy, a threat that almost no one sees coming. The brilliant thing about the prequels is that evil gains power piece by piece and before anyone even realizes a war has started. Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, 22 BBY. The Republic is slowly falling apart. More and more systems are joining the Separatists, and suddenly the Republic just happens to stumble upon a massive clone army on Kamino. Totally unsuspicious, right? Not weird at all. This triggers the Clone Wars. The Clone Wars 22 to 19 BBY. And at this point, we really have to say, The Clone Wars is probably one of the most important Star Wars series ever made. If you skipped it because it looks like a kid's show, go fix that, seriously, because this series changes the entire prequel era. Anakin gets way more development. The clones get actual personalities. Obi-Wan gets massive depth. And most importantly, it introduces Ahsoka Tano, who later becomes one of the most vital characters in modern Star Wars. What makes it especially powerful is that the final episodes of Clone Wars run parallel to Episode 3. So while Anakin is turning into Darth Vader, other characters are fighting for their lives at the exact same time. Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, 19 BBY. And here, the Republic dies for good. Palpatine unmasks himself. Anakin becomes Darth Vader. Order 66 wipes out the Jedi. And the Galactic Empire rises from the ashes of the Republic. The tragic part is that almost everything the Jedi feared ends up happening specifically because they were too late to stop Palpatine. By the end of this era, the Jedi are destroyed, the Sith control the galaxy, and Darth Vader is born. The rise of the Empire. The Bad Batch, 19 to 18 BBY, 3 seasons. Immediately after Episode 3, The Bad Batch begins. The series follows Clone Force 99, a group of genetically mutated clones who suddenly have to face the fact that the Republic they fought for no longer exists. And that's what makes this era so fascinating. You get to watch democracy slowly transition into a dictatorship. The clones are replaced. Imperial propaganda spreads, and bit by bit, the galaxy realizes that freedom is vanishing. The Empire doesn't take over in a single moment. It grows slowly, almost subtly, and that's why it feels terrifyingly believable. The series is now fully completed with 3 seasons, and the finale especially delivers some of the strongest moments of the entire era. Solo, a Star Wars story. Approximately 10 BB, right around this time is where Solo, a Star Wars story, takes place. This is where we see how Han Solo meets Chewbacca, how he wins the Millennium Falcon from Lando, and how the underworld operates under Imperial rule. The movie was a bit underrated back then, but especially when paired with Andor, this criminal side of the galaxy feels way more exciting now. Obi-Wan Kenobi, 9B BY Obi-Wan, has been living in hiding on Tatooine for 10 years. He's watching Luke from a distance, and emotionally, he is completely broken. The series works way better if you don't look at it as an action show, but rather as a story about guilt, trauma, and loss. And yeah, the reunion between Obi-Wan and Vader is absolutely worth the build-up, because for the first time, Obi-Wan truly realizes Anakin Skywalker is practically gone, or at least almost gone. Star Wars loves its emotional loopholes. The Age of Rebellion. Now we're entering one of the densest and most important phases of the timeline. The Age of Rebellion. This is where the organized resistance against the Empire begins. Star Wars Rebels 5 to 1 BBY. The series follows the crew of the Ghost, Ezra Bridger, Harrison Dulla, Kanan Jarrus, Sabine Wren, and a highly aggressive astromech droid. At first, Rebels feels a lot lighter than Clone Wars, but over time the show becomes incredibly important, mainly because it brings Grand Admiral Thrawn into canon and sets up a ton of events that become crucial later in Ahsoka. So, the rule stands. If you want to watch Ahsoka, watch Rebels first. Andor, 5 to 0 BBY. Running parallel to that is Andor, and Andor is probably the most mature Star Wars project ever made. Because this isn't about Jedi, it's not about prophecies, it's not about lightsabers. It's about oppression, surveillance, radicalization, espionage, and how real revolutions are built. Andor shows the people who are fighting before the galaxy even uses the word rebellion. Season 2 leads directly into Rogue One. Rogue One, a Star Wars story, 0 BBY. A group of rebels steals the Death Star plans from an Imperial vault. Most of them don't survive, but their mission succeeds. And that's exactly why Rogue One works so well. Every viewer already knows these plans have to get through, otherwise the original trilogy wouldn't even exist. Episode 4, A New Hope. 0 ABY. Note, the movie itself sits at the 0 point. Luke leaves Tatooine. Leia delivers the plans to the rebellion. Han Solo joins the fight. And the Death Star is destroyed at the Battle of Yavin. And that battle is so monumental that the entire Star Wars calendar is literally named after it. Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. 3 ABY. Hoth falls. Luke trains with Yoda. Han gets frozen in carbonite. And Vader reveals that he is Luke's father. To this day, it's one of the biggest plot twists in cinematic history. Even though by now, people who have never even seen Star Wars probably know about it. Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. 4 ABY. The second Death Star is destroyed. Palpatine dies. Vader returns to the light side, and the Empire collapses, or at least that's what everyone thought, because in Star Wars, nothing ever truly ends. The New Republic era. 5 years later, the New Republic era begins. And this is exactly where modern Star Wars suddenly weaves an incredible number of shows together. The Mandalorian. 9 ABY. Din Djarin is a bounty hunter who takes on a mysterious job. The target turns out to be Grogu, a Force-sensitive child of the same species as Yoda, or, as the entire internet called him, Baby Yoda, even though technically he is not Yoda. Disney tried to correct this. The internet decided to ignore Disney. The Mandalorian became extremely vital to Star Wars, mostly because it brought a ton of viewers back into the franchise after the sequels. Plus, it finally shows just how chaotic the galaxy became after the fall of the Empire. The Book of Boba Fett. 9 ABY. This series is basically Boba's attempt to build his own power base after his days as a bounty hunter. Instead of just working for other people, he tries to take control of Tatooine's underworld alongside Fennec Shand. The interesting part here isn't really the action, it's seeing how Boba Fett suddenly has to adapt after decades of being an almost mythical figure, especially since the galaxy has become way more lawless after the Empire fell. One important note, episodes 5 and 6 of the Book of Boba Fett are essentially full Mandalorian episodes in disguise. Din Djarin and Grogu reunite here. If you skip this series, the start of Mandalorian Season 3 will feel very confusing, so don't skip it. Ahsoka. 9 ABY. Ahsoka and Sabine are searching for Ezra Bridger while simultaneously hunting down the returning Grand Admiral Thrawn. And Thrawn is no ordinary threat. Where Vader intimidates people physically, Thrawn terrorizes them strategically. He's basically a military genius with horror movie energy. Skeleton Crew. 9 ABY. The series follows 4 kids who accidentally end up in a dangerous part of the galaxy, only to realize that the post-Empire era is way more chaotic than the New Republic claims. The Mandalorian and Grogu, approximately 9 to 10 ABY. And this is where the film comes in, the theatrical follow-up that takes the story of Din Djarin and Grogu to the big screen for the first time. It picks up directly after The Mandalorian Season 3 and runs roughly parallel to or shortly after Ahsoka. This is not a reboot. This is not a soft start. It's a direct continuation, and it builds on everything the series established. The galaxy is still unstable. The remnants of the Empire haven't gone away. And the bond between a Mandalorian warrior and a tiny, ancient, very powerful child is still the emotional core of the whole thing. If you've watched all 3 seasons of The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett, you're ready for this. If you haven't, now you know what to watch first. Tales of the Jedi / Tales of the Empire, various eras. Just a quick note, Tales of the Jedi and Tales of the Empire jump back and forth between multiple eras. Because of that, you can't pin them down to a single point on the timeline. But both series deliver highly valuable backstory for a lot of characters. The sequel era. Then, we jump several decades forward into the sequel era. Star Wars Resistance, 34 to 35 ABY. The New Republic gets complacent, the First Order is secretly building up its military, and history slowly starts repeating itself. Which honestly is one of the greatest tragedies of Star Wars. Nobody ever really learns from the past. Episode 7, The Force Awakens. 34 ABY. The First Order destroys the Hosnian system. The New Republic collapses, and a new generation takes center stage. Rey, Finn, Poe Dameron, and Kylo Ren. Han Solo is killed by his own son. Luke has vanished, and the galaxy is on the brink of war once again. Episode 8, The Last Jedi. 34 ABY. The Resistance is nearly wiped out. Kylo Ren kills Snoke, and Rey slowly realizes that reality is often way more complicated than the legends of the Jedi. Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. 35 ABY. Palpatine returns, because apparently falling down a massive reactor shaft was more of a minor career speed bump than a fatal event. Rey finds out she's Palpatine's granddaughter. Ben Solo returns to the light side, and together they defeat the Sith once and for all. At least probably. This is Star Wars after all. Practically nobody stays dead forever here, except maybe Mace Windu.